Hello everyone. Thursday, June the 23rd, but today is the solemnity of the birth of St. John the Baptist. It's anticipated by one day because tomorrow is the beautiful, glorious solemnity of the Sacred Heart. So the Church advances this because it is also a solemnity. So there's 3 readings today. I'll just give a brief, because I'm trying to limit these to 5 minutes, because I can go on and on, as you all know by now. So it's from Isaiah the prophet, chapter 49. And now the Lord says, who formed me in the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob back to him, that Israel might be gathered to him. For I am honored in the sight of the Lord, and my God has become my strength. So we see this anticipation, this foreshadowing of the birth of John the Baptist, who is a manifestation of God's faithfulness. And this is the whole thing about salvation history, is God is faithful. You and I can be, but we can also vacillate. We can be very unfaithful. We can walk away from God. He never walks away from us, but God is faithful. And the birth of John the Baptist is one more example. It's the culmination of the prophets. He's the greatest of the prophets. And we see here how God is so faithful to what he said he would do. So this should help us if we really connect the dots and pay attention. It should help us be faithful to our commitments and our covenant with the Lord. So pray a lot for this every day in your life. Second reading is from the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 13. In those days, Paul said, God made David king of our ancestors. In his testimony about him, God said, I have found David, son of Jesse, to be a man after my own heart, who will carry out all my wishes. It's kind of a way of praying of St. Paul's sort of speaking in a way, he's leading up to John the Baptist. So this idea of David being a man after God's own heart is something that's always struck me, like it's something that I just love to hear. Because, David wasn't a perfect man. He committed a grave sin. We all know this. But he was still a man after God's own heart. In other words, he wanted to do what God wanted him to do. And then he goes, and as John was finishing his work, he said, what do you suppose that I am? I am not he. No, I am the one. No, but one is coming after me. I'm not worthy to even untie the thong of the sandals of his feet. So John's whole existence was about preparation. It wasn't about, assuming some role that was not his. And this is John's greatness, and it should be something we try to imitate in our daily life. John the Baptist was such a profound model of humility. Even though he was a powerful individual, he was charismatic, he had people following him, his words were weighty, but he was not about being first. He was not about having people pat him on the back or seeking adulation. He was about being faithful to God and God's covenant. Okay, now over to the Gospel of St. Luke. We know this one, of course, is about the birth of John the Baptist. The time period for Elizabeth to give birth, and she bore a son. Her neighbors and her relatives heard that God had shown her his great mercy to her, and they rejoiced with her. And then, of course, we hear what happens by his father naming him, or he's going to name him Zachariah. It's the mother who says his name was John, and Zachariah backs that up. And then Zachariah is given his speech again. So the child grew and became strong in spirit, and he was in the wilderness until the day he appeared publicly in Israel. So John the Baptist was trained and raised well by his parents until he went into the desert and grew to maturity. So John's life, this is what's really to focus on, is he understood his vocation was to prepare the way of the Lord. And that is your vocation and my vocation as well. Whether you're a layperson in the middle of the world or you're a priest or religious, doesn't matter. It's only lived out in different ways or manifestations. But we are called to prepare the way of the Lord, even in our own life, but in the lives of others around us, your spouse, your friends, your colleagues, people you meet on the street, even by your interactions with other people. John found his security, his true self-esteem, and his grounding in being faithful to what God brought him into existence for, and that is to prepare the way of the Lord. And then he just backed right out. And you and I are kind of like an envelope carrying a letter. The letter is Jesus Christ, the envelope can be thrown away, And the letter is what we want people to have, and that's Jesus Christ. So you and I should be a good envelope. Don't get in the way of the letter. God bless you.